Hello and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be having a look in the Astra Militarum Codex for 8th edition, and we're going to be having a look at the Super Heavies and which regimental doctrine is possibly the best for good old-fashioned Baneblades and the likes. Before we begin though, if you'd like to see more videos like this one, please get your power sword and destroy the bell button and the subscribe button so that you never miss an upload. Cool. So we're going to go to, I think it's page 119, have a little look at the Baneblade, basically, or one of the variants thereupon. That's Valkyrie, we don't want that one. Yeah, Baneblade, cool. So Baneblade is pretty good, to be honest. Power level of 28, we'll go over the points, however, because basically they change all the time, and I'd have to open up the other, chapter approved, that's the word I was looking for, which I may do at the end of this video, I'm not going to promise that. So movement is star, weapon skill is 5+, ballistic skill is star, strength 9, toughness 8, weapon skill, no it isn't, wounds 26, attack star, leadership 8, 3+ save. It has all of these diminishing stat lines. So basically, if you are on 8 wounds, that's right, isn't it? No, if you're on 14 wounds, so if you only lose, 12 wounds, same as a Lehman Russ or something close to it, you're still going to be firing at full ballistic skill, which is pretty good. Beyond that, the last 13 wounds are not great, to be honest. But what do you get for your money? You get an autocannon, a Baneblade, a demolisher cannon, a twin heavy bolter, and adamantium tracks. So if you get the normal kit, you will get at least 2 sponsons, but you could have 4. And when you take a sponson, you have a las cannon and either a twin heavy bolter or twin heavy flamer. Now I went for the heavy bolter, but you could go for the heavy flamer depending on which regimental trait you take, etc, etc, and who you go against. So good rules that it has is steel behemoth. I'm not going to pronounce that correctly. Principally speaking, you can fire without worrying about the -1 ballistic skill, which is awesome. You can also still fire if you're in combat with all of your weapons. However, your heavy bolters and on your flamers will have to aim at the guys you're fighting in combat with, and you cannot aim the Baneblade cannon and the Demolish cannon at the unit you're in combat with. But let's be honest, the Baneblade cannon is pretty long range, so you can pretty much hit anyone on the board, which is good. So what we're going to have a look at is the regimental doctrines. So in order to have a Baneblade with regimental doctrine, we're going to have a quick look. I believe it's, let's find it. I mean, I could pause this whilst I do this, but that would take some brain work. Regimental doctrines. We are going to have a look at that, but the key thing we want to look at here is if your army is battle forged, all regiment units in an Astra Militarum detachment, excluding those in super heavy auxiliary detachments, gain regimental doctrine. So principally speaking, you can have the Supreme Command Detachment, which you have to take 3 HQ choices of any flavour you like from the Astra Militarum army, and then you can take at least 1 good golly gosh, you can take at least 1 of the super heavies, which is pretty good. Obviously the Baneblade, and etc, etc. Let's have a look at the doctrines. So what I'll do is we'll have a quick glance at them. You've probably seen them all before. Reroll hit rolls of 1 in the shooting phase with this doctrine if they did not move in a previous phase. So if you keep your Baneblade stationary, you're going to reroll 1, so you're going to maximise the chance to actually hit in combat, which is pretty good if I'm honest. However, that depends on how you're using your Baneblade. If you're literally just castling up, then yeah, take the Cadian one. Kind of goes without saying. However, if you're going to be moving about, because you're not going to be suffering a -1 to hit, you can still reroll those ones, which is pretty handy. And if you went for another regimental doctrine, you could in fact use, so with your like tank commanders, you can get them to reroll ones. If you have Catachans, you could have Harker. There's other ways to reroll ones, so it's not the be all and end all of doctrines, but it is pretty good. It's pretty good. I'm going to make a case for a specific one. I'm a little bit biased, so you know, let me know what you think below, but I will tell you in a second. So Catachan is add one's a string, but we ignore that because that's a Baneblade is not infantry. However, each time a vehicle with this doctrine fires a ranged weapon that makes a random number of attacks, e.g. d6, 2d6, you can reroll one of the dice used. So you can, which this is awesome. So especially if you're taking a flamer, toting Baneblade or one of the other ones, one of your 3 d6s, if you roll a 1 or a 2, then you can reroll. Well, you can do it any one you wish. However, my advice is if you've got a 3, stick with a 3 because it could get worse. A 1 or a 2, even though it could get worse with a 1 from a 2, you've got a good chance that you'll increase your chances principally. So you're going to get a lot more shots out of them. Zoomed in on the wrong one there. Do apologise. Armageddon Industrial Efficiency, infantry, that says vehicles, which is the bit we're looking at today. With a doctrine, treat attacks against them with an AP of -1 as just having a minus of AP. However, it is good. It is good. It means if you're going up against Necrons, that could actually be really beneficial to you. And other ones with -1s. Principally, though, your enemy's probably going to be aiming las cannons and plasma guns and all the rest of it. So the AP is probably not going to come into in industrial efficiency, rather ironically. However, it's good. It's still good. It's good. It's passive, but it'll keep it alive longer. Swift of this wind, blah 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 blah. There we go. So if a Titanic vehicle with this doctrine advances, this is Talan, I should say, it treats all heavy weapons it's equipped with as assault weapons until the end of that turn. Heavy D6 weapon would be treated as an assault D6 weapon. So instead of hitting on, instead of not being able to hit, you can move 10 inches, advance up to D6. So you could move a possible 16 inches with a Baneblade, barreling down upon your enemy, and still hit on 5s if you're on your full stat line, which is pretty good, if I'm honest, especially if you want to be moving around, and that definitely is very fluffy. Tempesta Signs we're going to ignore. This one is probably less useful unless you've got a big group of Baneblades. So it says you can add one to hit rolls for vehicles with this doctrine when firing Overwatch when they're within 3 inches of one or more other friendly modding vehicles. So technically speaking, you actually could do it next to a Lehman Russ or even a Sentinel because it just says Mordian vehicles. You don't have to worry about it being specific. So this one is good, but again, it probably would favour a static gun line maybe because you're going to add one to it. So you're going to hit like orcs in the shooting phase, which isn't actually that bad. And with a Baneblade, Overwatch can be deadly, which is pretty funny. We're going to have a look at probably one of my favourites in a minute. This one is less so, because the only thing that is really going to come into effect, now I could be wrong, I might be missing something, would be the Demolish Cannon, which would make it a 30-inch Demolish Cannon, which is nice. It's very nice. But I think the other ones are offering more for your money, if I'm honest. Now, we'll go on to my personal favourite. So I'm torn between these 3. Cadian, Catachan, because you're going to have a better average of attacks. Cadian's rerolling 1s. However, I did do this in practice. I've only really had one game with Helga. So we will, by the way, Helga is the name of my Baneblade tank. I do name my tanks, and she's called Helga, and she's a bit moody, so I will go into that in a minute, but we'll have a quick look at this one. We'll ignore the infantry bit. Vehicles with this doctrine that have a damage table double the number of wounds they have remaining for the purposes of determining what characteristics their characteristics are. So we'll go back to page 119, I think it was 119. Could be wrong. I've got fat fingers, so that's not going to work. Needless to say, if you have 13 wounds left, you will count as 26. So what we need to do is to be on at least 7 wounds remaining, because you'll count as having double the amount of wounds to determine the amount of characteristics you've got, which would keep you in the bracket between 14 and 26. So you can lose an awful lot of wounds before you even start losing your ballistic skill availability and your attacks. So my opinion, my humble biased opinion, very biased, very humble opinion, is that the Valhallans, especially in the case of the Baneblade or any of the super heavies, it makes them way more resilient. Obviously, slightly less offensive than the rest of them, but you're gonna, well, yes and no. If you're keeping your ballistic skill hitting on 4s for a lot longer, then it probably will be a lot more offensive for a lot longer. So there isn't any regiment-specific doctrines. Let me just pause it and just check. So there are other stratagems, but there's no specific regiment-specific ones. But the crush them tactic stratagem is basically, it doesn't say it, but it is effectively built for Baneblades and the likes. It's 1 command point, as you can read here. Use the stratagem at the start of your charge phase. Select an astrum with the term vehicle unit within your army. This unit can charge even if it advanced this turn. In the following fight phase, attacks made by this unit hit on a 2+. Now I can't think of a better unit for this to be on. So we'll go back to 119 or thereabouts, wherever it is. Yeah. The Baneblade itself normally hits on a 5+, but we're going to change that to a 2+ because of this 1 command point stratagem. Now we've got plenty kicking about because we've got a guard, got the Loyal 32, you can even have the other one that's like +8 or whatever it is. Insane amounts. Anyway, when you're still hitting on the first bracket, you're going to have 9 attacks at strength 9, so like las cannon shots, or the strength of a las cannon shot, but with the adamantium tracks, which is going to give you strength users a 9, -2 AP, so not the best, but it can definitely do some damage, even against a Space Marine. They're going to have 5+ save, unless they've got an invul, which usually is a 5+, unless they're toting a Storm Shield. And it does D3 damage each attack, which is pretty good, because you're going to be hitting on 2+, and you're more likely than not going to be wounded on 2s, if not at worst 3s. So it's going to be pretty deadly in combat. So I think pretty much, I was going to have a quick mention, I will have a quick mention. Basically, my Baneblade, I did name it Helga. She had her first game, which you should have already seen possibly, because there should be a battle report, and I might have already put a link to it already by the time this has been released. And Helga was very frustrating. In the first turn of her shooting phase, she fired las cannons, heavy bolters, demolisher cannon, heavy bolters, so dual las cannons, the assault, the auto cannon, and the Baneblade cannon. She hit only, I think, once or twice, and then James, the Dark Angel player, made a 6+ save. I think, was it once or twice? I can't remember. So Helga really annoyed me. She was the first one to shoot, and it was her first turn shooting, and she just did nothing. However, Helga is a rather vengeful lady, and we decided to unload all of the weapons at James's Storm Raven the next turn. I think it was at 10-3. I can't quite remember. You'll see the video, you'll know what I'm talking about. And basically, with the Baneblade cannon, that took the bird out in 1 round of firing, and all the other weapons were lost, but she was very angry. Helga was angry because she missed. So she took him down and then went on to charge into some aggressors. They survived. They did survive, but I definitely depleted his ability to shoot as much as he did. And Helga survived the match. And because of the Valhallan cheaty rules, having double the amount of attacks, she didn't fall below 7 wounds, and so she kept fighting and shooting as good as she did right in the beginning. So that's why my vote majority of the time is possibly going to be Valhans. Now I will be trying all of the above, the Cadians and the Catachans, now unless I get into collecting any of the other regimental doctrines, which I might do, because I am what's the word, easily drawn to wanting to have at least a infantry squad of Talan, possibly Mordian, because I do think they look really cool. Maybe the voice drones as well, however it's going to be less effective for my standard tanks and all the rest of it. So I'm probably going to be leaning more towards the Talan or Mordians maybe. Anyway, so I think I've rambled long enough in this video. So what I'll do now is I will give up. Obviously, if I've left it out a wide shot, you can always take screenshots at any point in the video. Feel free to do that. I'm going to call the video there. And as ever, thanks for watching.